Hello and welcome to Xena Warrior Podcast.
That works.
My name is Vera, and I'm joined, as always, by my two lovely co-hosts,
Livy.
And Katie. Hello.
Hello.
This week we have two new episodes.
Yes.
Two new episodes. They're not
they're
new.
really new.
They're really new for us to talk about.
Yeah.
Brand new Xena episodes.
Yeah.
Number 3 and 4 of season 1. Cradle of Hope and Dreamworker, but reversed order.
Reverse that.
Reversed order. So we will begin with Dreamworker.
Yeah, let's just get right in it.
Number 3. Extremely important episode, I would say. Would you guys agree?
Oh, yeah.
Maybe the most significant
Yeah.
of the whole season.
Well, I mean, for the entire show, it's like one of the most important ones
Absolutely.
as well.
It's setting up huge character dynamics that just have consequences rolling through seasons upon seasons.
Forever.
Yeah.
So I guess this would be called the first, like, Gabrielle episode, you know, when you...
Pretty important for Xena, too, though.
Yeah, but I
They
mean...
both have these sorts of dark journeys of the soul.
Yes, the show is called Xena, Warrior Princess, so hence she has to be in it. But Gabrielle was not a character, you know, introduced on Hercules, so hence, like, this is the first big one kind of for her character, I think.
She also wasn't a huge player in the second episode, so this feels like a bit of
Yeah.
a restoration for her.
Absolutely, yeah.
Well, the second episode, we had Xena leaving Gabs in taverns and stuff just because she couldn't
was
have
like
her
the baggage.
hanging around. Yeah, she was.
Would you
She
like
was
to
the tag
check
along.
your baggage, miss?
You know, she was this tagging along little person, and this is our first episode where Gabrielle wants to start fighting, and Xena kind of almost, she doesn't agree, but she does start giving her mentorly advice at the beginning and the end of the episode. So this is kind of the first time you're seeing the mentor-student dynamic that is hugely important forever and ever take shape.
Yeah, it is very interesting watching
I'm talking
it.
with my hands like Gabs. Nobody can see that, though.
She's such a cute little button in this one. This is the first time the, I guess, cold open is, you know, Gabrielle threatening a foe very intensely, right? And it's revealed that it's just a tree stump. And this is like the first time, I think this gag comes back later in season 1 where she's doing the same thing, but it's revealed to be Argo. Spoilers, I guess. So I think that's really fun that they followed up on that.
Yeah, and I mean, it's such a like babyish thing to do, to use a sword, but as a toy, a straight up toy. Yeah. This is what she does in her downtime, is goof off with Zira's sword she's used to kill many, many, many people.
Yeah, right. She's like really, you know, worshipful of Xena. And very much wants to be like her, like, as she promised, she really wants to be like a warrior like her, so, but she's just so not good at it.
In a way, this is showing the dangers of Gabrielle sort of forgiving Xena so easily, being kind of out of touch with Xena's dark side, that she, you know, sees Xena's whole life through these rose-colored glasses where you go off and have fun adventures and slay people and you brag about it at the local bar afterwards.
Yeah.
And it's all fun and games till someone loses an eye.
Not that that's going to happen.
Not that that's going to happen.
Or does it? Oh, I don't know. No, that's a really good point, yeah.
So should we talk about Xena's rules of combat?
Yeah.
It mainly
Don't talk about Fight Club.
Yeah. It mainly involved running, I believe. So it was number 1, run.
Good.
Number 2, surrender, then run. Number 3, let the bad guys fight it out while you run, right? And then number 4, talk your way out of it, which is Gabs' skill.
Yeah, and that's really like her first ever student-teacher moment.
Yeah.
And a few of them, well, there only are a few of the rules, but Gabrielle does use them when she's in the dreamscapey.
She definitely uses them,
survive.
But a few of them she uses just in general throughout the series, like talking. If that doesn't work, fight. That's used in season 6 for sure in an episode.
I mean, we're beginning to see. It's almost like Xena has an inkling that Gabrielle's talents are going to be in kind of non-violent opposition. So she's giving her advice related to that.
Yeah.
I mean, it's kind of funny. Like, it is not practice what you preach. Xena is like the least into negotiation of anybody, really.
She basically murders some guys like right after this.
I love, she's like, people are always too quick to draw your sword. And then like some guys come along and they're like, give us all your money. And she's like, sword!
And stabs them,
like, instantly.
Perfect.
Like the sword is out before
she kills that guy, and then later in the bar is like, hey, who do I report a dead guy to? Like, she's so blasé about it. I know they were bad, but still, geez. Okay, so, I mean, I guess speaking, they go into the town.
This is a weird town. There are no women in the town. They've all been sent into the hills because...
There's a cult.
Apparently, there's a cult that kidnaps young girls as long as they're not murderers. So I guess my question is, like, if I lived in this town, I would just have my daughter commit a bunch of murders and then she'd be safe.
That's a good, exactly.
Actually, that'd be amazing, like, as a story. Instead of, like, your bar mitzvah and bat mitzvah or whatever, you just, like, do a murder.
Yeah, just do a murder,
That's kind of interesting. I'm surprised they didn't kind of develop that as a weird system in the horrible town.
Yeah, so they just send them away. And, like, if all the girls from that town are constantly sent away, those guys never have the correct sacrifice? Or where do they go to a different town to get it?
Well, I think they're forced to, look for travelers.
Okay.
And in this episode... Unfortunately, Xena and Gabrielle stumble in right when they are coming to town.
Yeah, and they're like, she's perfect.
Right.
Yeah.
Like, she's the cutest button weirdo we've ever seen.
Yes, I think it's exactly like Gabrielle has fire.
And
she hasn't stained herself with blood. So we're introducing...
Right.
Yeah, I like that they say she has fire. Not that she's just this sort of like winsome innocent, but she's spirited.
Yeah, she has a spark to her. Yeah, so the introduction of the concept of Chekhov's blood innocence.
Forever important.
Yes.
Chekhov's blood innocence.
Yes.
When will it go off?
Oh, it will. I don't think this is a spoiler because you're watching a show. This is episode 3. One of your characters, one of 2 characters is like a big old killer. The other one is super innocent. Like, surely it will come up.
Right.
Yeah.
So,
I really love that in this episode the stakes aren't only Gabrielle in peril, Gabrielle dying. Like, I feel like the blood innocence is such a clever stake because, like, it's going to be threatened.
Yeah.
It could happen this episode. I think, you would never for a second believe that Gabrielle would actually, like, be sacrificed to this god Morpheus. But you, I think, for a second entertain the possibility that she will have to kill to defend herself, and you find yourself really not wanting that for her, the same way Xena doesn't want that for her. So I feel like that's really smart writing in this episode to make that Chekhov's blood innocence kind of the thing to protect rather than just her life.
So here's a quote from Stephen L. Sears, who wrote this episode. He goes, "This episode gave me a huge chance to immediately explore the differences between Xena and Gabrielle. The first thing I thought was, Xena comes from this bloody background, and here's this little girl, Gabrielle, who says, I want out and watch you do this. I thought, let's slap her in the face with reality and make that the stake here. Let's make her blood innocence the huge risk that we have to deal with, and make that as sacred as her virginity, maybe even more so. That immediately defines Gabrielle as a character."
I like that he's equating virginity with blood innocence.
Well, it's both for her, literally. She's a virgin and a blood innocence virgin.
Yeah.
So I think it's really important, and that was a good quote.
Yeah, that's very smart, Steve Sears.
So also this was the introduction of Xena's breast dagger.
Oh, yes.
The breast dagger.
Which was first purchased by Gabrielle, actually.
Thanks,
Proving herself to be a really bad student, because I think she got the exact wrong takeaway message. Xena's lecture.
Wisdom before weapons. She did those giant list of rules, then TLDR'd it with wisdom before weapons.
Yeah.
And then the Gabs' next thing is to go buy...
And not only
weapon,
that, she picks up Xena's sword in the fight and is immediately a target, and presumably finds that really scary. And so she's like, I know what I can do. Get my own. So that they'll always be picking on me.
But, you have to understand. I feel like I totally understand her point. If she's going to still be getting into these situations, that she should know how to swing it.
Absolutely, yeah. I mean, it's a difficult situation, you feel, for both of them, because Gabrielle isn't wrong in wanting to be able to defend herself. It seems seems like a necessity. If she's tagging along with Xena, she can't be this perfect little innocent forever.
Can I jump to the end here real
Yeah,
quick?
yeah.
So we have her experimenting with all these swords and stuff, and we have the concept of her blood innocence on the table. I love that what we get in the end when she's doing her kind of like big end fight, we'll probably describe it more later, but you get foreshadowing to what does become her main weapon, her staff, which she doesn't get for a little while, by like knocking the pointy end off a big giant stick thing. I thought that was great.
I thought by the end you meant like literally the character introduced in the finale.
Oh no, I'm sorry, the end of the episode.
Knowing that teacher-student relationship between those two, and how she just really did not want to teach Gabrielle anything really here is interesting just to think about.
Well, I was just reading on whoosh.org an article about this being these sort of first moments of Gabrielle and Xena, having that mentor-student relationship that was like positing the show is really all about Gabrielle being on the traditional hero's journey, which is very interesting because, Xena is clearly the hero and is the title character, but is in a much different place as that sort of person. And then Gabrielle is doing the more traditional like journey, like Luke Skywalker, Obi-Wan.
Yeah.
Xena's almost more of an anti-hero.
Yeah.
You have sort of the anti-hero and the hero together.
Oh,
Yeah.
I like it.
The yin and the yang.
Oh, well, that's very important
Plus,
and very
just
Xena.
the idea of a female anti-hero.
Absolutely.
Oh, this is the first time? Because this was like the 90s.
We've often had conversations about, are there any female anti-heroes? And it's actually incredibly hard to come up with any really solid ones. And here I think we've stumbled upon one that is...
But is she really an anti-hero if the entire program is on this redemption arc?
She's definitely maybe on the spectrum of anti-heroes.
Yeah, she's on the spectrum,
One that's, a little bit closer to heroism, in that obviously she's trying to do good. But I think the emphasis in Xena is on trying. She's not necessarily great at doing the right thing all the time.
Which is, I think, a good point to talk about her part of this episode, which is humongous to her entire story as well. This sort of battle, and in this case, literally, with her dark side, quote unquote, thus represented in the episode with, evil black-eyed
Xena,
demon Xena,
eye contacts.
This was like the first time where she's sort of confronted with her sins of the past, right in front, personified, right in front of her, because she enters this dreamscape to save Gabrielle.
Which, sidebar, amazing.
It's true. It's a huge sacrifice to make for Gabrielle.
Yeah,
for Gabrielle's innocence.
Xena reacts like very intensely. They've only been traveling together for a little bit. We've seen her be just kind of this annoying little person tagging along up to this point, and the second she's in danger, Xena freaks out and then goes into this kind of terrifying state, where she's not protected to go rescue her. That's a big deal.
She allows this like creepy old guy to slather her with oil.
He says he's a gentleman. Thanks, guy.
Great way to reassure a lady. Don't worry, I'm a gentleman.
It's sort of like I feel like I would have thought of it anyway, so it's kind of
it's nice that he said it. Yeah.
Like,
her unconscious body that he's slathering in oil. Yes. I read the first time Xena calls Gabrielle.
What is she been calling her?
Called her anything.
She's literally just never
said her name before.
Friend in quotation marks.
So is this also the one where she called her like Gabrielle? Some interesting combination of accent.
Yeah, Demon Xena was just from New Zealand, straight up.
Real sweet.
So Gabrielle has to do all these different trials where the evil Morpheus dudes want her to kill somebody or draw blood even. It's not even
it's not even kill, kind of. It's like
she can give them a little cut.
They're a little unclear on that. I mean, I think your blood innocence, because I mean, she also is sort of responsible for people's deaths in this episode, but it doesn't count. Make sure to let you know it does not count.
Okay, so she uses, her Xena's rules to kind of beat them.
Yes, she does. Yeah. That time where she's like, let them fight each other? That's a fun one. She like totally tricks them with her sneezing and doing stuff to make them stab each other.
I really loved the way that was shot with the silhouettes of the warriors on paper, these paper screens. I thought that was really beautiful and striking.
Why do you think Xena in the Dreamscape wears a kimono? I thought that was such a striking
It's an interesting
image.
outfit.
And I couldn't quite find anybody talking about that. And because knowing the show deals a lot with China and then later Japan, and especially China is really important to her, I thought that was such an interesting choice.
It was.
And they probably didn't know
Yeah.
at all. That
I mean, I know they were like,
yeah.
the entire show is based on
Right,
Kung
in
Fu,
that-
so
in
they were
that
probably like,
sense.
LOL, yeah, let's
I
put her
wonder
in
if
that.
there's like a sequence from a Hong Kong movie that
Yeah.
they're referencing.
Oh, okay. There you go. That's
Maybe.
probably, I mean,
Yeah,
I wish
but,
we
yeah.
knew what it was, but I guess looking at it just in terms of knowing the entire series and like what that character has gone through in her past,
Yeah.
I'm like, that's cool.
And then
in
maybe
her,
that
in the
outfit
Dreamscape, she's in a
symbolizes
kimono.
her best self,
So also,
I think that would make sense with the China arc, which we'll eventually talk about. but-
eventually.
Well, now
Yeah.
we can make it mean anything we want.
Yeah.
Yes. Also, the finale, the Japan arc, where she's also kind of in a kimono and in one state and like busts out in her
Oh my
out, in her
gosh.
warrior princess outfit at the end. This happened here too.
Yeah,
So
the
that's-
warrior princess armor versus
How dare you?
these
That just
more-
blew my mind.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. So
Purified
I mean, she literally
Xena.
like moved from the Dreamscape and teleported to where
Right.
Gabrielle was in this one by defeating her evil self, right?
Well, she
For-
doesn't
first-
defeat her.
She sends her
doesn't
spinning.
slay her.
This is the important kind of takeaway from her confrontation with her evil self is it's more about actually embracing that part of her.
We have to understand that as Gabrielle is going through these trials, Xena
Yeah.
is also going through these trials in the Dreamscape. The first is all these victims of hers who come and
including her first.
including her first and her most recent,
Yeah.
the guy from the road who she just brutally murdered in front of us all. And they tell her their names, they
Yeah.
tell her their families'
Yeah.
names, they become people. And I think the temptation for Xena is that she will become so provoked by this and so kind of confronted by it that she'll kill them, that she will kill them again.
Yeah.
Because that's what Xena does when put in a tight spot. And I think the same threat then is present for evil Xena, that she will kill this thing.
So if she kills them, what happens? She
I
dies
don't
or
know.
something? Like that's bad?
It's hard to know exactly what the stakes are. She won't reach Gabrielle.
So basically both
She'll be
Xena and
stuck there.
Gabrielle
She won't get through.
cannot do murders
I think so.
in both states.
Yeah,
That's
so
cool.
she's really,
That's
she
cool.
even says in the episode, oh, finally, here's something I can kill
Yeah.
when evil Xena appears. Like, this is something she's been waiting to be able to fight, but it doesn't work. She starts fighting, and evil Xena's beating the crap out of her.
Yeah.
'Cause evil Xena's really good at fighting.
She's hardcore.
So I really loved, that the message there is that she has to work with that
Yeah.
part of herself. Like, she needs to use it in order to save Gabrielle. She can't just
I love
stand
it.
there fighting it, because she'll be doing that all day long. Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Yeah. And then she teleports and, corporealizes to save Gabrielle. And she uses the breast dagger to do it.
She does. Comes in handy.
Yeah.
A nice murdering weapon,
believe it comes
courtesy
in handy.
of Gabrielle. Thanks, Gabs, for giving
Exactly.
Xena the
Good
gift
purchase.
of more murdering.
That's part of her thing earlier. Like, I want to help Xena. I want to take the weight off Xena. I want to, help her out.
Yeah.
So, yeah.
I
And
hope
it comes
every
in handy
gift
later, too.
Gabrielle gives her gets to be nestled between her bosoms.
Oh,
Her motivations.
surely does.
Right, her motivations.
Did you think that dagger could stay up at all in her
Gabrielle's or
in her
Xena's?
bosoms? No, Xena's is totally, it's like, it has a place for sure.
Well, it fell out, so no.
Yeah, I was
Of
like,
Gabrielle.
even Gabrielle, like, wearing it, I'm like,
That was a
I
quite
loved how
amusing.
she walked, like baby's first wonder bra.
Yeah.
yeah, she looked like she was, like, in
looked
a training
bigger.
bra, yeah.
Yeah. An adorable way of, like, just being like, oh, what's that? These are hand-me-down clothes. What else is in these clothes?
She was so funny in this one.
She is delightful in this episode.
Yeah.
The childbearing hips.
Oh my gosh.
No way.
Yeah.
No way.
So they save the day, right? And then one of my favorite moments was when they go, like, Xena has been kind of dealing with this local shopkeeper this whole time, right? The guy's like, oh my gosh, you've saved the town. Like, we're free to do this and that. So it's 10% off on everything for you instead of giving it for free. And I thought that was really funny because his outfit had a bunch of, like, Jewish stars all over it. And then the mystic guy comes in and calls him a miser.
Are you saying this is...
I think this goes into the problematic jar.
Problematic.
Yeah, 5 cents in the problematic jar.
Yeah, we gotta get a real like jar and start putting money in it every time we say problematic, and we'll be rich.
Because
I think you have to donate the money from the problematic jar to charity.
Okay, we can do that.
So the episode ends with this really kind of classic moment between Xena and Gabrielle by a lake.
You're going to tell us about
a
that
metaphor moment? Happens. Come on, guys.
Yeah, it's a really beautiful scene in which Xena says that she began her life as the still waters of this lake, but then a rock was thrown into it and it began to churn. And that's who she is, the churning waters. And then even when it smooths back out, that rock is still in there, and now it's part of the lake forever.
Yeah, it's evil Xena. She's underneath.
Well, is it evil Xena, or is it the stuff that's happened to her to make her into evil Xena?
I think it's evil Xena because I think she can, become evil. She can revert all the time, and season 1 sort of deals with a lot of that.
Yeah,
that she's always so close to.
That it's always there
close to the
surface.
to really, yes.
Below the surface, would you say? Like
to relapsing, I think.
But also just the idea that everything that you've experienced becomes a part of you, and it changes you, and she can never be the person that she was before. She's confronted by the very first guy she killed. What was his name? I forget. But he basically says you were just like Gabrielle, and now look at you. So it's just like one of those things where she can never go back to being that, but you can embrace that these things have happened to you, and that you can still make the decision to be a different person by
multidimensional.
She knows in her fight with evil Xena, she calls her you're the key to getting out of this, right? It's not that she has to defeat her, it's that she has to
figure out how to work with her.
Yeah, she learns that everything that she learned when she was doing all this bad stuff is stuff that she's still using now, but she's using it differently. As the beginning is all forged in battle, and now she's
I really love something Xena does kind of overall, which is I think you're almost expecting good Xena and bad Xena to be two separate characters, and they're not really. I mean, I think Lucy Lawless really changes her performance when she does both of those two people. Bad Xena's voice is a bit higher.
Was it reminiscent of Hercules?
Yeah, she's sort of doing the Hercules performance, which is almost like a vamp, I would say. But over time, that sort of high voice and vampiness kind of leaks into, original flavor Xena. and I think she really muddies the water between those two people, and you realize that it's such a false dichotomy. Exactly what this episode is kind of telling us in small scale, that there isn't a good Xena and a bad Xena. There's just the lake with the rock in it. And you can't really make those distinctions. I kind of compare it to something like Angel and Angelus, where it's so that's like a guy with multiple personality syndrome. He is two different people. He is a good guy and a bad guy, and there isn't really a way of merging those two identities for him. But I think Xena really is this merged person, and the show does a great job of kind of developing that over time.
Now I'm just trying to think of other Buffy characters that work with Xena. I think Faith. We're
going to talk about Faith a lot, I'm sure.
Okay, so that was the episode. It was really good. I would suggest revisiting it after certain episodes later on.
It's so important. It kicks off everything. Yeah. Not to sound
hyperbolic,
you worry
but it really
about
the threats that it sets up remain threats almost through every episode.
Yeah.
Certainly when I first watched the show, I was always thinking about Gabrielle's blood innocence. Anytime there was a fight scene where she had to do something, I was like, oh no, is it going to be here? Is it going to be here?
You're always worried.
It's a constant question.
This was also the first episode where we really noticed that Xena's skirt is super tiny.
Yeah. It was extra short.
It very much is just only below her butt. It's quite the mini skirt.
Yeah, I'm not sure.
Does it grow longer?
It does. Yeah. It's not like this. I mean, they changed her, her costume gets adjusted.
I mean, they're always short.
We don't know quite what's going on behind the scenes with it. They change it the way that it's kind of put together in certain ways. Obviously, the skirt changes I didn't notice it in the first one,
I
though.
don't know,
That's
I
the
didn't
thing.
either.
So.
Maybe they
They're like,
shortened
make it shorter.
So.
Yeah, they
We
had
gotta
their
sex it up.
priorities.
Speaking of which, the next episode is...
yeah, maybe this is a good transition.
Let's talk about...
Cradle of Hope.
Yeah, Cradle of Hope.
Which has a really unfortunate name in the long scheme of things.
Yes, exactly.
When we came back to this one, we read that title and cringed, but we won't tell you why.
Yeah, it was cradles, man. They're really
I
epic.
hate cradles. That's the problem.
Okay, so this is an episode, I guess, based on Moses, right? Because it's biblically it's about a king.
It's the first episode of Xena that has like Old Testament.
Yeah, which season 1 kind of goes there a lot in their one-off stories. This is one of them. So there's a king, King Gregor. He has...
He's
Oh yeah,
king.
He's king from the credits.
In a time of
there's a few credits shots from this episode, so that's fun. I guess take a shot whenever you see one. So King Gregor, his wife died in childbirth, right? Or their son died.
Son and wife.
So he's like alone, and then there's this lady. She gives a prophecy that this one baby from his like kitchen staff or whatever will grow up to take over his kingdom. So his evil advisor Nemos is like, we gotta kill this baby. Mm-hmm. So the lady sends the baby in a basket down the river.
Yeah.
You know, that old classic.
Yeah. Poor babies in baskets going down rivers. It just seems so unsafe.
Yeah. I mean, later on it will be used again. So
there's a lot of weird foreshadowing in this episode.
Yeah.
I felt
like really unintentional weird stuff.
Yeah,
I mean,
unintentional.
it's hard to know,
sure.
but certainly
I
was very struck by that moment where Xena and Gabrielle find the baby in the basket after it kind of lands among the reeds, and Gabrielle is sort of like, let's keep it, let's adopt it forever.
Excuse me, first she's like, is that a cat?
Gabrielle can't really fathom why a mother would give up a baby.
Yeah.
And Xena sort of says something like, she must have had her reasons. And if you think about some character things that will be revealed next season, this is, I think, a very interesting and revealing moment for Xena. Mothers have their reasons for giving up their children.
Yeah, and I think you can go back and watch this one and kind of insert, I see it all in the performance, I see it everywhere. Which
you don't think they knew?
No, well, I don't think they knew, but at the same time, I honestly do think that you can see it. Like, you can see the way she behaves around the baby is a little bit weird.
She is so weirded out by babies. It's so funny.
Yeah, but I mean, it's not the same quite as like the Hercules baby issue. This is more like, she's sort of stays away from the baby.
Yeah.
She lets the other women kind of handle the baby. I thought that was a really interesting thing, sort of knowing.
I much preferred Xena with this baby than episode 2, where she was so good with the kids.
Oh yeah,
I feel like this was so much more rooted in
this was
character
real, yeah.
and her history.
Like we said in that episode, that was Hercules with the kids because that's what it was supposed to be. But this is Xena.
This you feel was so
this
specific
is her backstory.
to the character,
yeah.
and it's very striking, especially in comparison to Gabrielle and Pandora, who are both cooing over the baby and really reveling and taking care of the little guy. But meanwhile, Xena's just sort of like, all right, you guys, you do that. I'm delegating. Yeah. Let me know if you need anything.
No, it's just interesting that you can make this episode be a good foreshadowing for both Xena and Gabrielle for future episodes.
Before we get too deep into the discussion, should we discuss how this episode was written by Terrence Winter?
Oh, yes.
Of all the people you expected.
Emmy Award-winning writer, producer, Terry Winter.
Writer of The Sopranos, Boardwalk Empire, and Vinyl.
Yeah, and throwing a baby up in the air.
I hate to say it, this episode might be more from the writer who brought you Vinyl than the writer who brought you The Sopranos.
This is better than Vinyl, for sure.
Probably better than Vinyl. I bet they don't throw babies up in the air and catch them on Vinyl.
Which is fantastic, so...
Maybe on Boardwalk they threw a baby up in the air. I don't know.
They don't catch it on the way down.
No, because it's gritty HBO programming, so... Okay, so they also did the first, there's an establishing shot of the kingdom that is going to be reused throughout season 1 for as stand-in.
So many kingdoms.
Stand-in for all the other kingdoms is this one kingdom, King Gregory's kingdom.
That's a good moment to point out the kind of charms of having everything available to us now on DVD and Netflix and you know, at the drop of the hat you can watch all this stuff. Obviously at the time people could tape stuff on VCRs and whatnot, but it wasn't the sort of like established practice that producers would need to think of, like, you know, not reusing actors or, you know, reusing establishing shots, because people are going to see it once maybe and then another rerun maybe, and then
and
you're not going to remember that kind of thing. So it's just part of the like aesthetic of TV at the time that, you know, the same people will pop up, and, you know, now you see it all the time because, you know, that's just the way it is. But at the time it wasn't really a big concern. So it's not like it's bad or a mistake or anything like that. It's just
funny. We can point it out. Just keep an eye out for this kingdom later on, because you will see it.
I like that in all my 90s shows. There's like a charm in going like, you know, here's Carl Urban. And
he's gonna be in a bunch of them.
He's gonna be back again.
Yep.
You know, here's Krychek before he was Krychek. You know,
I mean, I kind of prefer that system than like Doctor Who, which like loves to cast the same actor over and over and then like retcon it as being like so and so's cousin or so and so's.
That's the worst.
Yeah, guilty conscience.
That might like since this is newer, like they feel the need to explain because they know people are watching things like 50 times, and so they're like, we have to explain why this person is identical to this person.
And I think explaining these things is very stupid, because the explanation is we cast the same person and like them, so cast them again.
Then sometimes you're David Milch on Deadwood and you just like Garrett Dillahunt.
Oh my god. And it's so confusing, and you never explain it, and you think that there's going to be an explanation, but there isn't.
So there's some year in which it became unacceptable to do this, and it was somewhere in the early 2000s.
Do not cast the same actor as two major characters.
Unless
you're Carl Urban. And then you can get away with it somehow.
You put a little wig on him, he's fine. Yeah. Okay, so we get introduced to Pandora in this episode. She's about to get hanged. She's like on a horse, and they save her.
She's also a great streaming music service.
Yes, that's what the episode's about. So it's the first streaming service and the trials and tribulations of starting it up. I thought it was really funny how Pandora looks super 80s/90s in her look. She has this French braid that is totally reminiscent of my childhood.
I could never do them, so I'm sad.
The curls kind of like escape it because it's like no hair gel or anything.
It looked really like permed to me.
Yeah.
With everything.
It was very specific to a time.
That's a really fun part of watching stuff that is from a previous decade is just see, and especially when it's a period piece, because the aesthetic of the design of costumes and makeup is still very much rooted in the time in which it's being made. So, you know, even when you're just looking at like Xena's makeup, you're like, look at that 90s burgundy lippy.
Yeah, it's so pretty hardcore. Yeah, it doesn't go away until, you know, way later in the run of the show. Evil Xena from the previous episode had a pretty dark one.
Well, of course you did.
Yeah. Okay, so Pandora's deal, besides having this French braid and maintaining it, is that she has to constantly, what's the word I'm looking for? Twist the box.
Yeah.
What's in the box?
Well, apparently nothing. Well, I guess that's a spoiler.
You can spoil the episode we're talking about.
You're right.
Yeah, nothing is
Don't
in there.
listen to this podcast if you haven't seen the episode we're discussing in the podcast.
It's only a metaphor that's in there.
Yeah.
But, I mean, it's a great metaphor, I guess. But at the same time,
about
I feel
hope.
really bad for Pandora, who's been doing this for like a million years and literally goes catatonic when she thinks it's not going to get done. And it's just an empty box.
Yeah, Pandora and her mom. Because the grandma is the one who did the original box.
The original Pandora.
Yeah.
So talk about, paying for the sins.
It's like the curse of the
grandmother.
Yeah, it's the curse for the women, like in Practical Magic.
Oh, no.
So, it
like,
was a bummer.
Is it mean that they don't tell her, or is it...
I think it's a little mean.
Because if it doesn't affect...
I mean, it's terrible either way. I think to find out that your life's purpose is a fraud is pretty awful.
But they gave her a new purpose. She's now going to be a mom.
Oh, yeah. Well...
Yeah. Yeah, what do we think of that?
She
the
doesn't
kind
have
of
to wander
domestic
anymore.
message of the episode, which is, like, be a mom if you
Yeah.
can.
So Xena sees that Pandora is this crazy lady who like has to twist
and
the
is
box.
getting lynched when they first
Yes,
meet
yes,
her,
yes.
which is pretty upsetting.
So they hide out in this cave, right? And Xena's like, oh, this lady is really obsessed with this box only. Let's try something. Hey, Gabrielle, give her the baby. So she like really bonds with this baby, and Xena immediately...
Taking care of a baby is way better than taking care of a box.
That's true.
It's true, but I thought that was really interesting that she kind
it
of
seems
jumped there.
very specific on Xena's part. And, it's great for Xena because it means she doesn't have to help with the baby.
Right.
So there's...
Yeah, and she
She's
doesn't
looking
want...
for a way to get
she also doesn't want
the baby
Gabrielle
out
to
of
get
there.
attached to the baby either, so she wants to pawn it off to some other lady.
But it does seem to really save Pandora, who
Yeah.
otherwise might have just become catatonic because of her box.
She was really good playing, as if she's holding the baby. Like, she was really natural at kind of clearly being with a doll, because you never see the baby.
I really liked that actress. I thought she did a really good job.
She was very, like...
With a very silly character.
She was so, like, 80s to me. She looked like Kelly McGillis.
Oh, yeah. A little bit. I see that.
Yeah,
I see
100%.
Okay, so the point of the episode is that this guy Nemos is super evil.
Yeah, he's the crappy one.
He's
Yeah.
clearly manipulating the king, who is maybe soft with grief and not really making good judgments.
Yeah, he's a good guy, the
Yeah,
king.
and Xena and Gabrielle expect him to be this like evil
Because they want to kill his
person,
baby.
And he's like,
Yeah.
no, he's just a dude.
Yeah.
Like she comes
Yeah.
back and says, I didn't see an evil guy in there.
That's an interesting scene because the king goes to Xena expecting to meet a very evil person, and
'Cause he's heard
Xena
of
goes
Xena.
to meet the
Right.
king expecting to meet
That's
a very
right.
evil person. So
She
they look
sits
into
really
each other's
well.
eyes.
Yeah.
I mean, I feel like Xena actually plays that moment as sort of her evil self, going back to what I was saying
I mean,
about...
she's very, she has a good stare in
Yeah.
that scene. And
It's a
she's
real big, like,
sitting in a
extreme
very,
close-up.
like, she's got her legs up and kind of crossed.
gets
Like,
her-
it's like, she's sitting in a very particular way.
Yeah.
She's just held hostage. The bartender, who
Yeah.
is this unarmed dude, who's not like the greatest guy. He's clearly an informant for Nemos, evil Nemos, but he's still like just a unarmed man.
She did the pinch.
Yeah, she did the pinch too, and then holds a little dagger too. So I feel like this is maybe Xena at her most hooligan-like, in that she just goes into this bar and torments this bartender. So I mean, I do feel like the king, looks at her as someone who is there to overthrow him and cause a lot of trouble in his kingdom, and you can totally see where the
Yeah.
king's coming from in thinking that about Xena.
Yeah, because he knows her past. Yeah.
Yeah, he knows her past, and she's kind of affirming it, and maybe doing it very consciously, like trying to make out like she's still that person, knowing that it will make him afraid of her and more likely to negotiate with her.
Yeah, so this fight in the tavern happens, and this is the first time Xena does the fire breathing trick. You're nodding,
it's
you're nodding.
spectacular. It's
And
really good.
this is a real effect at the time. At this
Yeah, it's
point.
100% practical.
Lucy Lawless can breathe fire.
breathe. Actual fire.
We suspected as much, but this was reaffirmed. In the early seasons, she does it for real. Then I forget who was in charge, decided that maybe we should stop doing that. Maybe we should do CG.
Like maybe the lead shouldn't.
Yeah, maybe the lead
do
shouldn't be
something
doing this
where
stunt.
the face could get burned.
Yeah. But then this person goes to work on Lord of the Rings, and she's back to doing it. But it looked really cool. It's also in the credits because it's that awesome.
Yeah.
It's
No,
it's a
cool.
moment where she's separated from her weapon, so it's really clever that she's looking at her chakram, which is hanging on a peg, and she's like, I can't quite get
It's
it.
so funny that it has been hung. Was there something that I missed where like there was
Yeah,
no
the guy was like, you
weapons
can't
in-
You
do
have to
weapons.
check your weapons.
Yeah,
Just do
it's
weapons.
just like Xena's mom's bar. You
Okay,
can't have the
okay,
weapons.
yeah.
Which, and
That's
then
fine.
she goes in and wreaks so much havoc in this tavern. So. She doesn't need weapons. She just needs a mouthful of alcohol and a torch.
Oh yes.
Yeah. Another thing that's introduced in this episode is the first time we see sexy dancing from
Oh
Xena.
my god. I love that, whenever Xena has to sneak into a place, the first scheme that occurs to her is I'm going to go in there and dance sexily.
I mean, honestly,
distracting.
it's legit because all the guys are constantly fooled by it because they're
They're dumb.
Yeah.
Yeah, they really are.
So in the plot is that in the Quarter Moon Festival happens, and
we need to establish the Quarter Moon Festival.
Of course, there's a reason for this, guys. And Nemos and his dudes have the Kingdom girls dance, and then he picks one. So Xena's like, that's me, I'm gonna do it, and she does her sexy dance big time.
I am maybe the devil's advocate here. I do not find Xena's sexy dancing sexy. I don't even know if it should qualify as a dance. She sort of just flails around.
She loves to wear veils.
This particular one, maybe.
I never really
not really
them.
A sequence.
Yeah,
that much.
No,
like,
it's
more
a very
like
bad dance.
She's just like sashaying over to the box.
She's
just trying to get closer to the box.
She kind of like sexily headbangs, which, as you know, is not a thing.
I think it works. I think it works. I would choose her for sure.
I think like this is not the best representative of maybe more fun, sexy dancing on the horizon.
But I mean,
I know it's fun. Whatever.
I mean, it feels very mythic because she's using what she's got, which is when she's not dressed as the warrior princess, she's just a woman. A beautiful woman.
And
comparative to sleep with, so she can get that gives her access to any palace hall.
I mean, I'm just like trying to think what kind of they must do similar plots on Hercules, but you never would have like Hercules as a sexy dance.
Obviously.
How do you know?
I'm sure they put Aeolus in drag because that would happen a lot.
Problematic.
Yeah.
Oh.
But this I didn't say I remember the specific episode. I'm just guessing. They would play comedic, but for sure I think it's really important that in multiple episodes we have Xena and or Gabrielle do some kind of like sexy dance to kind of get themselves into a specific place. And I think that's really interesting. So, but also considering this is episode 4, we had the shot from the credits, the passion.
Right, the passion.
So I think it was interesting. Like they must have, they're like, oh, we gotta get some sexy stuff in here because otherwise, the guys won't tune in. So get some skin and some sexy dancing.
It's a good little scene. The passion. Like what are their lines?
Oh,
her and Nemo's the pleasure and the pain.
Yes.
When she punches him, he's like, you speak of passion. She punches him in the face and says, you speak of pain.
Yeah.
It's like, wah, wah.
Xena's one-liners.
Yes.
It's definitely a one-liner.
So she finds the box, and I thought this next sequence was really funny. She bungees out the window with the box, and then proceeds to parkour her way through like the village square.
At one time, being like, "Sorry."
She like busts a random dude, breaks his wagon, runs on it, and is like, "Sorry about that."
This is like the ultimate hooligan Xena in this episode. Like she's gonna get thrown out of this town. She does nothing but property damage.
Yeah, so she has, she finds Pandora, who like, as it's winding down, like is able to flip the box so that it doesn't open. She saves the day.
The ticking clock, which is the ticking lock on the box.
Yes. And this is where the baby throw starts happening.
This is when they have the baby. They're beset by a bunch of palace guards. So what do? How do you get your arms free to fight? Well, you got to start tossing the baby around.
Classic first ever baby
Gabrielle and Pandora's reaction to the baby throw is amazing because they're just like, no, don't do it.
Infamous baby throwing.
Yeah, my favorite moment in that scene is that it's Xena's idea to throw the baby. She goes, Gabrielle, catch, right? So and she's like, no, but Xena throws it, and then Gabrielle does catch it, right? Mm-hmm. Then she tosses it back to Xena. But, like, completely the opposite.
This is, like, the worst throw.
The worst throw ever. And Xena has to dive to get the baby. And then she catches the baby and gives her, like, this look.
She gives her a real dirty look.
I'm the only one who gets to throw babies, Gabrielle.
But, I mean, like, it was more like, that was a shitty throw.
Yeah.
Like, I can't believe you did that.
Like, she was fine with her throwing it.
Yeah, but it was such a bad throw. Yeah.
And then the final throw.
It has to be hard to throw a baby.
But she was just so mad.
I mean, and then you probably just shouldn't throw a baby.
Of course not.
You really should not throw a baby.
But again, this show is not quite concerned with any kind of laws of physics, which is
Are
perfectly
you
fine.
saying this show isn't realistic?
I'm saying that it has a different set of gravity and or physics.
It's funny you bring up physics. I have a really funny thing here. Well, we should talk about the final throw after Xena has tossed the baby to Gabrielle and Gabrielle has tossed the baby to Xena. She now has to get her arms free again to fight everybody off. So what does she do? She just throws the baby straight up into the air for a full 7 seconds to free her up to like kick everybody's ass. Yeah. And then she catches the baby again, and the baby's like, yeah.
Great baby reaction.
Baby's totally fine with
It's an
it.
amazing baby reaction shot. But I love, from Whoosh, we have a fan who presumably has some kind of physics background.
Oh my God.
Who has calculated how high into the air Xena had to throw that baby to have 7 full seconds to fight off goons.
Oh my goodness.
And it's just amazing. I'm not going to go through it all. It is literally like an 18-step proof.
Oh my
God.
God.
Like y
That's
equals
amazing.
VO to the T plus half of A times T
Oh my
squared,
goodness.
where T equals total time baby spent in the air, 7 seconds. Y equals height of baby in the air. A equals acceleration due to gravity, which is constant on Earth, 9.8 meters per second squared. I don't know physics. This doesn't make any sense to me. But anyway, this person figured out that she would have had to throw the baby 60 meters into the air.
Wow, poor baby.
That baby entered the stratosphere.
Wow.
Okay, that's so funny. Meanwhile, Michael Levine, the director, said that they never got the scene the way he wanted it to be. He wanted the entire shot of the baby while flying.
He wanted to throw a baby into the air and then have
get it.
Lucy Lawless catch it and then breathe some fire into
Yes,
his face.
absolutely. But he needed the baby to be up in the air, reacting like at the camera, but below you would see the fight happening.
Oh, I mean,
And
I
they
see
never
that
got
shot. That's
that.
definitely a money shot.
They never got that.
I feel like they might get that later with a slightly older child.
Why'd they throw another?
Oh, they do.
I think that actually does
Okay,
happen
I
later
hope it's
in
the same
show.
director.
And I guess maybe, yeah.
He finally got
it haunted
his
him
dream
that he couldn't
shot.
get
I think
the
this
right
is
shot.
very true because I feel like I was expecting to see a shot of the baby in the air in this one, and I didn't. But I think I may be thinking of that one.
But the reaction shot is the money shot, I think. It really sells it. That
It's so
baby
good.
look so unhappy.
He looked unhappy, but not too disturbed.
Nah, he's fine.
Yeah.
He won't need any therapy at all after this.
No.
Well, you wouldn't know.
This is part of the greatness of Xena. It's like lack of caring.
Yes.
Gravitational forces and
Yeah.
things.
I mean,
And
yeah.
I'm trying to think of like so this is the first 4 episodes. There have been moments where she's done stuff that are not quite within the realm of normal mortal fighting possibility, but it hasn't been too crazy yet, right?
I mean, she did.
Like,
they
she's-
fought on
she's
people's
done-
heads.
Yeah, but
in the
like you
first
kind of
one.
understand that. Like
Do
you're
you?
standing, it has like a rules. Like you're on heads. Like
Okay.
they're holding you up.
There is
But
gravity.
mainly
you know,
people wouldn't
gravity
hold
works.
it.
In the first
Yeah.
one, she does that. Like she kicks around in a circle for a really long time. But
Yeah.
there hasn't been. Has there been a lot of like super like
Like,
I'm in
flippin',
the air
flippin',
doing a lot of like
Yeah,
stuff.
not
yeah,
not
like,
quite as much.
We'll get there.
Probably like
Yeah,
evolves over time.
it's
Yeah.
gonna evolve.
That's one of the great things about
Yeah.
I mean,
fighting.
I mean, the
skills.
rule I think is gonna be that if they need her to do something crazy, she does it no matter
Right,
what.
exactly.
So whatever the episode calls for.
Which is again steeped in the tradition of the stuff that they're following with the Hong Kong movies
Mhm.
and old legends and stuff.
Yeah.
Where they you get to the point in your martial arts training that you're so good that you have these superhuman qualities, even though she isn't a god. She's able to do these amazing.
She has many skills.
She has so many skills.
Yes. So she switches she decides to like put the baby into King Gregor's baby cradle
Oh
that
my
is
God.
covered in cobwebs.
She clears off the cobwebs.
Yeah, I thought that was a funny detail that she did. She cleared the cobwebs, like, because that cradle has been sitting there for like years and
It's
years.
so
and
terrifying
years.
to me that that's what qualifies you to adopt a child in ancient
He wakes
Greece,
up.
is if you have a really creepy baby crib that you don't touch for 6 months and just kind of talk to. Like, that probably means you're going to be a really good father.
Was it 6 months or was it years at this point? It was so
That's
much
true.
cobwebs on
I'm not
there.
sure. I mean, those could happen in 6 months.
Oh my gosh, it's true. Look at our apartment. But
What?
But I thought it was really
Yeah.
hilarious because the guy wakes
it's a little
up.
horror movie. to,
Yeah,
like,
the guy
just
wakes up. Can you imagine waking
drop a
up
baby.
and a baby is crying in your dead baby's cradle?
Not great.
that is-
Like, that's terror.
Yeah.
And
But he got it.
He
Yeah,
got it
understood.
immediately, and also he's like, "Hey, Pandora, you want to be my new wife?"
This baby needs a mother, and you're the first woman I saw.
She's cool with it.
She's
She's cool
happy
with
with it. Yeah.
Yeah, so she doesn't need to do the box anymore, right?
I think
yeah.
well, they're
Well,
not-
her plan is to
It's-
continue
to
to
continue
do
to
the
do the
box.
box.
It's like
Okay.
guarded in a room where
She doesn't have to, like,
carry it
obsess
around.
over it.
And that was what was like bringing her down was this like lonely wandering life of carrying this box around.
But she has to visit that room every day, right?
Yeah.
Okay.
But I guess that's just a few minutes out of her day. No biggie.
Okay. Well, those were the episodes. What did you guys? Good ones.
yeah. Dream. What's it? Dreamworker. Dreamwatcher. Dreamworker.
Not a great
I watched
title.
The Dream.
Yeah. Neither is a great title, I would
Cradle
say.
of Hope.
Dreamworker.
LOL.
Yeah, Dreamworker is kind of a really amazing episode and so important. And watching it from having seen the whole season, it's just incredible. It's it's almost a little painful to watch.
Yeah,
I find.
I agree.
Sweet baby Gabs.
Yeah.
Yeah.
She punches a guy in that one. That's her first little
That's
act of
true.
violence.
And Xena's pleased by it.
Okay, so I guess next time, two more.
Two
Next
more.
time, 2 more.
episodes
Again,
5 and
another
6.
significant episode for next time.
So we
Follow
should,
us
yeah,
on
follow
things?
us on stuff. We are on Twitter at Xena Warrior Pod, just pod.
The cast is silent.
Yeah. On Facebook, the Facebook page, Xena Warrior Podcast. Definitely there's a Tumblr, Xena Warrior Podcast. And we're getting all this stuff up and running.
iTunes.
Yeah, if you subscribe on iTunes, please, then
Yes.
also do the liking and rating and reviewing. Also great. On many places. Find us on the places.
And watch and love Xena.
The
Yeah.
power.
The
The
passion.
passion.
The
The
podcast.